Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I am going to be giving you a book review, a critique of a book entitled Your Own Horoscope. It was written by Ursula Lewis. The copyright date when I looked in the book was 1976. I'm thinking presumably it was written around at that time or near that time. You can go online and verify that. But the point is this is a classic example of a book that was written a number of years ago, certainly not outdated or antiquated by any means. It's very informative, very provocative. There's a lot of descriptions in there that are very concise, put very succinctly, but it's also very profound because Ursula Lewis goes into so many different elements of astrology. This is very ideal, as it states on the cover of the book. It's for beginner and professional. So anybody, even I would say, anybody that's at a novice level, just learning astrology, rudimentary level, or intermediate, or even an advanced level, professional, or really very advanced, near expert level, is very it's something that is very useful for anybody at those for anyone, whether you're at a rudimentary, intermediate, or professional advanced level. You can still learn from it, because it's very something. I ordered this book recently. And it was a book I had. It was one of the first books I ever had when I first started becoming learned in the subject of astrology. And despite having a somewhat profuse knowledge of it, I looked at it and I even learned some other things. And I saw something in the book. It showed a chart, well, it showed a wheel. It was a circle which was depicting positive and negative degrees of zodiac signs for all 360 degrees. And to me, I kind of vaguely remember seeing that wheel when I first had it back in the 1980s, but I had forgotten about it, and I guess you could say I relearned it. So that was something that I saw in there that I learned also. It talks about so many different things, whether it's transits, planets, and signs and houses. It also, there's some information, I believe, on progressions as well, and incompatibility, synastry aspects, even the timing with pregnancy, talking about, well, if you have a child that's if conception takes place when the moon is in a masculine sign, the child will be male. If conception takes place when the moon is in a feminine sign, the child will be female. There's very, again, it's very provocative, and it talks again about so many things. It puts things in a very concise manner. It's also what I found interesting, what makes this book very unique and distinct. It's very unorthodox the way it's written, because in the descriptions, at least in a lot of them, will be words, will be adjectives, and then commas, and then another word or a group of words and comma. You know how when you look at in a lot of astrology books, you'll see when you have descriptions and delineations, interpretations for various parts of an astrological chart, whether it's a planet in a house or sign or an aspect, it'll be written in sentence form. Well, this was written basically in words and adjective forms, and for the moon in Gemini, it'll give a one word or comma, and then some other word or a group of words, comma. So it's something that is written in a very distinct and unique type style and format. So this is something, this was very nostalgic for me. It brought me back through it was like an astrological trip back in time for me, basically. This was something brought me back to, a time when I had this book originally, when I was beginning to learn about astrology. And I would recommend this book for anyone, again, whether your knowledge of astrology is profuse or it's intermediate or it's very basic. If you're a novice at the as far as learning astrology or novice level, this is something that could be very enjoyable for anybody, regardless of what level astrology, because it's almost everything but guaranteed that you would still learn something from this book that you didn't know previously. So it's just something that I would recommend for really just about and for really anybody that is interested and enamored with the subject of astrology. So really, I mean, there's really not much more I would add on this. It's just something, again, which talks about a variety of different astrological material and matter. It even has it talked about the old, before the advent of all the internet and really online things that were online, where we could calculate, where these charts are calculated for us very easily now because of the internet, because there's programs online that will just almost instantaneously calculate a program just by putting in the birth data in those, I guess you could say, those parameter fields. This tells you the old school style, mathematically doing it, calculating the charts by hand and telling you what resources you need. So for some people that want to go back to old school and want to take that nostalgic trip back in time, they could see how those charts are calculated back in those, I say it in a flippant way, the prehensile days. Back like in the 80s, and I can remember those days very well, with the compass and protractor and the table of houses and Raphael's ephemeris. And I even had a book of the time zone differential, time zone changes. So it was something really to remember, and really, I mean, for those of you, those of you that want to kind of take that trip back in time, if this is a book you had previously, and through various moves you may have lost it, this is something I would, you want to get an old book, an old astrological book that you had previously, but you don't have anymore. This would be one of the ones I would certainly recommend. If you never had this before, I recommend getting it. I give it 5 stars out of a possible 5 as far as a rating goes, between 1 star and 5. Definitely 5 stars. This is, I mean, it's written very almost flawlessly, very articulate, very the way it's written. Very excellent job by the late Ursula Lewis. Really, I'm sure she was one of the better astrologers out there. Obviously, very proficient as far as in the subject of astrology. So anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment for my review of the book entitled Chart Your Own Horoscope by Ursula Lewis. And stay tuned next time, where I'm going to be continuing my monthly horoscope forecast segments. So anyway, 2 things I want to get with you on before I head out. Firstly, the stars may impel, but do not compel. And secondly, never isolate any single astrological element, aspect, planetary placement, position, configuration, influence, or what have you, and make an analysis of a person, astrologically speaking, based on this alone, because astrologically speaking, the person is the sum of all their components in their natal chart, and not just one. Until next time, people, stay well.